And finally, we have one from Elisa Lee Gossage, who says, there are a lot of women and some men who are clamoring for strong female fictional characters to relate to. But if one identifies as a strong female, then why do they need the affirmation of a make-believe person? I've never understood this. And quite frankly, as a strong woman myself, it pisses me off when these soft-minded feminists screech all day long for this. I like or hate a character based on who they are, not based on their genitalia. Can you explain why these women and men think this way? Part of it, Elisa, is what we talked about earlier. It's the moral superiority. And frankly, look, I've said this 100 times. I just have to say it again. Anybody who doesn't believe that women deserve to be paid the same rate for the same work is a savage, a barbarian. I don't want people like that in my society. Anybody who says that occupations are off limit to women, presuming that they can make the same standards as men, is also not welcome around me. I don't consider that feminism. I just consider that decency and humanity and common sense. And by the way, this idea, women get paid 72 cents on the dollar for men, I know this has been debunked 1,000 times. Men make more money than women do because they work more dangerous jobs and they put in longer hours. And the point I'm trying to make about the 72 cent thing is, I'll come back to the other part of it is, does anybody actually believe it's like, I'm applying as a manager here at the Walmart. Can you tell me what it pays? Well, it pays $35,000 starting if you're a man, but you, sweetheart, sugar cheeks, we're going to pay you $27,000. Done. They're in jail. It's over. Of course that doesn't happen. So the question is this heroism thing. Look, I've never been anything other than honest on this show. I didn't know if women would make good pilots or not. And then I got to be friends with a woman who's a helicopter pilot. She's flying Black Hawk helicopters defending her country. She's a terrific pilot, and I've known some other women who are great pilots and terrific pilots. There aren't as many of them as men, obviously, but they are making the same standards as men, and there are women out there flying Apaches right now and A-10s, killing the bad guys, risking their lives. And while it took me a little while to come along, and this happened 20 years ago, 10, 20 years ago, like I said, I'm usually right because I move. I was thinking I didn't think they could do it, but turns out in those capacities, I was wrong. So I changed my mind. Now, with that said, there was apparently a case where a couple of years ago, two women were were allowed into naval carrier operation as fighter pilots, and both of these women were subpar, significantly subpar. They would have been washed out if they were men. And my understanding is dim, but my understanding is, hey, I'm sorry, Harry, I'm sorry if it's so disappointing and depressing for you. If you find it really disappointing and depressing, perhaps you ought to hang up. This is a show where I take questions from people. I don't invent the questions, and it's not my topic. So I've seen 3 comments about how depressing this is, and honestly, if you're really that depressed, might be a good time for you to just maybe turn off the internet. In cases where you're trying to force the issue, then you have problems. And I think one of these women went into the fan deck on the back of a carrier. So back to the kind of the hero thing. Look, Ronda Rousey can kick my butt 20 ways to Sunday. She's tough. She's unusual and she's rare, but she's tough. So if that's what you're looking for in a hero, it's modified my opinion a little bit about the Scarlett Johansson thing, but I think she certainly kicked my ass, and so I think what we're really trying to say is this. I'm trying to read this question again. I think the first really strong female character that I can remember was Ripley in Aliens. That was 1985. I want to say 87, somewhere in there. And Ripley in Aliens didn't violate any standards of reason or believability. She was a navigator on a spaceship. She wasn't a soldier or a warrior, but she had skin in the game. She was inventive in the first movie. She was clever, and she was brave. And she had to be brave or she's going to die. And in the second movie, she goes back into the den of these aliens, not because the other men are cowards, but because the other men are incapacitated. I think, in that movie, when she straps on the gun and the flamethrower and goes in there, she's going in there to save that girl, and it's kind of the mother instinct. And I just don't think it could have been done any better. She goes down there and she kicks this alien's butt because she uses skills that she has. She knows how to run a power loader, and she's got the guts and the courage to go down and do that. There's no question that women have that kind of courage. Some women do. And so I thought that Ripley in Aliens was a terrific female character. Terrific. Just absolutely terrific. And very believable in a way that some of these aren't. Some of these things you see, these rail-thin models, and they're knocking the daylights out of, flying jump kicks out of these huge guys. I don't believe it. I never saw Ripley beat up Marines. I saw Ripley take a flamethrower and some grenades and a machine gun down and shoot up an alien, but I never saw her do something that beggared belief. I never saw her beat up 5 of these Marines with flying dropkicks. And I guess that's kind of where I try to draw the line on this business about female heroes and female action heroes and all the rest. The subject of women in combat is a very touchy one. I kind of want to come down on the conservative side of this to say that that I don't want to experiment and socially engineer combat units in order to make a domestic point and to please a domestic voting bloc, and in the process, kill people. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take that risk. I'm going to have to be proven that's the case. I mean, these 2 women who passed Ranger School, they said no, they did pass just like everybody else, and some people have said no, we were there, and they didn't. So, when it comes to being combat warrior, you not only have to clear the bar of can they physically do what the men have to do, all of it, carry a 200-pound guy in his pack out of action. But you got a deeper trouble here, and that trouble would be, does the presence of a woman or a few women in the squad alter the behavior of the men? And if so, that's a problem. Is it something that can be overcome? Can fighting men be trained or conditioned to treat women the exact same way as men fighting in a unit? I suppose it might be possible, but I don't want to put male soldiers at risk. There's this constant talk about men would go to extreme risk to protect women, and needless to say, if women are captured, there are things that can happen to women that are not going to happen to men, and so that genetic kind of warrior kicks in. I don't want to mess with what Lord Teo just put up there, which is the greatest military in the history of the world, the greatest fighting forces, the best soldiers that we've ever produced, and they work in like clockwork. And all I see is social engineering on this one. I just think we need to, if this is something that can be changed, it's going to take a little more work than we've got right now, and I don't want to experiment in the field. I wouldn't mind experimenting in the field where people don't get killed. I'd like to experiment in the field where we can get some data on this, but the last thing I want to do is force women into combat units and have it end up killing guys who wouldn't have to die otherwise, because that's inexcusable in my opinion. That's not something that I'm ready to experiment with as Commander-in-Chief. So I know I've kind of danced around that issue there, Lisa, in terms of your question. I think, as I said, when you get down to Ripley, you're dealing with, if you're looking for an action hero, look, I know this sounds blithe, and I know the word heroic is bandied around an awful lot and used in ways that degrade the term. But when I think about what especially a single working class mom has to go through, when I think about what a mother has to do in terms of getting up early, getting the kids dressed and fed, and then on their way to school, and then go to some job on the bus, and then work all day, and then come back from the homeschool. I mean, I just had my nephew out here for 4 days, and it's astonishing how much attention just one child takes. You may not want to call that heroism in the degree that walking into gunfire is real heroism. But I think you can say that that there is a very heroic, self-sacrificing, noble, and admirable quality to people who stick it out and do the right thing and the tough thing because it's the right thing. So yeah, I think that's it. Now, somebody in the comment section, I see that Phasma is being mentioned in the comment section, so prepare yourself for a Star Wars spoiler here, a little one anyway. In Star Wars, in the trailer, you can leave for a minute here or so because, again, this is a little spoiler. It's not a real big one. But there's an awful lot about that. Maybe we'll do a Force Awakens episode or something. They have set up in the trailer, and when all we had was just a simple little glimpses of things in that, those first trailers. It's like, what does this mean? What does that mean? So you've got these new stormtroopers, and then there's one stormtrooper in chrome with a cape, super badass stormtrooper. I thought it was a guy. Then we find out later it's a woman. Okay, why not? She's in armor, she's got a gun. I don't see any problem with this. Great. And she's made out to be super badass. She's the badass, elite, #1 Guardian Stormtrooper. And just through raw laziness or poor planning, there's an awful lot of lazy writing in that movie. Something has to happen at the end of the movie. Something critical has to happen, and she stumbles upon the scene, and somebody puts a gun to her head and says, "Do this thing, which will essentially cause your side to lose." And this super gigantic, awesome, amazing, tough as nails, killer, elite stormtrooper just says something like, "You'll regret this," and then does it? What does that say? What's that say? It's like, Kirk, we want you to open fire on Federation headquarters. And I've got a phaser to your head, Captain Kirk. So you open fire on Federation headquarters with your phasers and photon torpedoes, or else I'm going to blow your head off. And Kirk says, "You'll regret this." Starfleet headquarters is destroyed. What the hell does that make Captain Kirk? What does it make him? It makes him a wimp and a traitor and just a wuss. It makes him it makes him a laughing stock, and it's just laziness. It's bad, lazy, cheap, stupid writing. It's easy writing. Oh, we need somebody. Let's use this villain. Well, not a villain anymore. She's not a villain anymore. She's not somebody to be afraid of anymore. She's a person who will do whatever is asked of her the second her life is in danger. It's not a villain. That's not somebody to fear. They could have found any guy in a white stormtrooper outfit to do that, but they decided to bring her into it, and it's just appalling. It's just really bad writing. And Eisenfire says she's coming back. I have no doubt that she'll come back, but she's not going to come back to me. I'm not going to respect this person. She just surrendered instantly, just surrendered. And it was, that's as small of spoilers you're going to get. It's not a big deal, actually. But it's like, please, if somebody's going to buckle, give it to somebody else. If, on the other hand, you want to make this person a real badass for future movies, then have her say, then shoot me. It's not so hard. They're not going to shoot her. They're the good guys. Just have her say, no, I'm not going to do it. Shoot me. Shoot me right now. Here's my gun. Blow my head off. I will die before I join you rebel scum. Now you got somebody who can be a factor in future movies, but it's lazy and it's easy, and it's a lot of laziness and easiness in that movie. It's really kind of a shame, actually. We really should do a Force Awakens movie because there's a lot of stuff in there. It's just the way it is, So hopefully that answered it for you, Elisa. It's a tough issue. I should add one more thing here. I have a trainer who I've been working with for several months now, and I came in once and I said, "You know what you are? You're a pocket battleship," and she's just so tickled by that term. A pocket battleship was a term used for a set of German cruisers. You think I'd know this? Grafspree, I want to say, it was one of them. Anyway, just before, after the Treaty of Versailles, the Germans were limited to battleship tonnage. They could only build ships that were so big. And so the Germans built these cruisers, but they were as heavily armored, or darn near as heavily armored as a battleship, and they had guns almost as big as a battleship, and they were very fast. And they were called pocket battleships, little battleships. And I walked in one day, and I called her a pocket battleship. She's probably 25 years old, and she's a wee TIE fighter and trains, and she's built out of titanium. I mean, she is the most perfect physical specimen I've ever seen. She's built out of solid titanium. I kicked my ass 5 ways to Sunday. And she's very into the girl power thing, but she's not into the feminism thing. And it's a refreshing kind of thing. She's a fighter. I mean, she trains to fight, and man, is she in terrific shape. And see, this is the difference, I think, between the feminism and the girl power thing. She's a fighter. I wouldn't want to get in the ring with her. She's deadly. And she takes it very seriously. She trains very hard. She's in the gym working out 5 hours a day and getting my sorry butt into shape quite well, I might add. And yet, so I respect her, and she's got the heart of a warrior. There's really no other way to put it. I mean, I talked to her about a number of things. She's a warrior, and she has been for a long time. She did it all by herself. She didn't get any help or support. But she's not a man-hater. She's not a feminist in the sense that, the patriarchy or, no, she's none of that. She's just a tough, kick-ass girl. She's a tough, kick-ass girl. And I just adore her. I think she's one of the best people I've ever met. She's so kind and friendly, and she's very motivating and very supportive on and off duty. And I just think the world of her. And she's changed my mind a little bit too about the physical combat side of it. I mean, she's really tough. I don't think she could carry a 200-pound guy and his pack out of combat, but I don't think she claims to be able to do that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she is. But in any event, I wouldn't want to mess with her. She kicked my butt. She is strong, really strong, and built like a battleship, a particularly well-shaped battleship. So she's changed my mind a little bit and has shifted me a little bit more away from the, Scarlett Johansson can't take down these guys. I still don't think she could take down fighters. I certainly don't think she could take down 3 or 4 men. And I don't think she would claim that she could do it either. But the point is, she's into the girl power. She's a warrior, and she's not filled with hatred towards men, and she's not filled with this kind of, women need men like a fish need a bicycle kind of thing. So you can have it both ways, I think. I really do think you can have it both ways. You can have the girl power without having the man hatred. And she's evidence of it.